You know, this very well could be the last video I make here in March 2017. Whoa! Before, and depending on what time I upload the video tonight that I have already prepared as well. So I am also a blogger in addition to being a vlogger. I am a daddy blogger, so I write stories about being a parent. And a lot of people only know me as that. They don't even realize I have a video channel. But my audiences pretty much don't know about each other. But this guy's different. Ben Lewis, he actually left this comment on my blog as opposed to my video channel. So here's what Ben Lewis had to say. Quote, "Hey Nick, do you notice any connection between hair texture and density and future hair loss? I've always had quite fine hair, which is low in density, so you can see straight to the scalp under bright light and if it's wet. However, as of yet, I'm about to turn 19 and I haven't noticed any recession of my hairline. Also, do you know of any cases where a father has had a full head of hair at a late age and whose son has had early hair loss in their teens and 20s, end quote. Very good question, and I feel like this is sort of new material. I like this. So it's a question about having fine hair, just because, so he's basically got overall less individual hairs in his head. Whereas, I mean, my hair is always, up until, 5 years ago, it was always pretty just thick. He's saying his hair all over is just kind of thin. It's a low density. So is that an indication of hair loss? And what I'm going to say is, hey, that's funny. Is this one of those, like, what in the world? It's like one of those machines where you look, confirm order here. Is this like a drive? That is so weird. Where am I? Am I in like Hungary or some kind of different country, like Bulgaria? Is that a country? I don't know where I am right now. Okay, so but he was asking if your hair is thinner all over, and it basically always has been, will that indicate hair loss? And he's saying he doesn't notice any recession on his hairline. So here's what I'm going to say, Ben. I'm going to say I don't see any reason to have concern. Certain people just have thicker hair, and when I say thicker, I should say higher density, as far as more individual hairs growing out of their head overall, just by default. Some are going to have less density all over, and that's just how it is. But the thing about low density, about less hairs growing out of your head, is when it's isolated to places like this and in the back. Those are signs of hair loss. But if there's overall, and you've always been that way and you don't notice a receding hairline, I'm thinking there's no connection between hair loss. And I don't see anything for you to worry about at all on that. So if you're worrying about it, stop, because you haven't given me a reason for you to show that you're actually losing your hair. So what if your hair's a little bit lower density? If it's that way all over and you still got a perfect hairline, sounds like a pretty good situation to be in, actually. The other question you had is if I know any cases where, like, a dad who's, let's just assume in his 50s or 60s, has a son that is going bald at a young age. Do I know of any cases like that? You may be surprised by my answer. No, I don't. I thought of all the men I know that have been blessed with a Norwood 1 or 2 hairline in their later years, and I think about their sons. And everyone that I can think of that has sons, all of their sons have comparable hairlines. Every single one I can think of. Now, that's not to say that that's the case. That's not to say that that in order for you to have a full head of hair later on, that your dad has to too. It's not to say that. And it's not to say that every man with a Norwood 1 or 2 at age 60, that all of his sons none of them will go bald. It's not to say that. But to honestly answer the question, I can honestly tell you, I personally can't think of an exception. I know that give it 2 seconds and people will be leaving comments on here telling about how they are the exception to the rule, they know the exception to the rule. It's just I don't know of any exceptions to the rule. And you got me curious. I mean, is that a sign in itself that whether or not you might be able to keep all your hair if your dad has himself? Maybe. I really don't know, because I can't think of any exceptions to the rule. Good question, though. So Ben Lewis, thanks for finding me on both my blog and my video channel. You've asked some original questions here, and that's ultimately what gets made here, is those original questions that can really add to the discussion here. But as for you personally, Ben Lewis, looks like you're in a good situation for now. I mean, you're how old? 19? Yeah, I mean, you know, check back in a few years or whatever as far as if you see any changes, but for right now, I think you're good to go. All right, thanks for watching my channel, and the next video I have is an interview. We'll have a special guest.